A few things are improved, left implied, yet considerably more are best left unshared. For ages, the ascent and fall of strong people, realms, and domains have frequently relied on a solitary uncovered secret. Privileged insights employ power, filling in as both safeguards and blades, watching us or prompting our demise. Yet, imagine a scenario in which there are a few insider facts that are so indispensable, so fundamental that they ought to never be uncovered to simply anybody. The antiquated Stoics realized the privileged insights well, and they drilled a discipline of quiet and prudence that shielded them from hurt and safeguarded their respect. In this video, we will examine 10 subjects that we suggest you leave well enough alone, as an emotionless and never uncover to anybody. Every one of them are urgent and interconnected, so remain tuned for the rest of the video to find out why. The quiet fights you're pursuing. Stoics face quiet conflicts. Behind each face you experience, there's a vast expanse of stories, some sung resoundingly, yet generally kept quieted. These quiet stories, woven from difficulties and individual battles, frequently hold massive power. Why? Since they form us, shape our viewpoints, and push us as far as possible. Be that as it may, similarly as the hardest steel is manufactured in the most sultry fire, so are we through these inside fights. Epictetus quietly reminds us that it's not what happens to you, but the way in which you respond to it that is important. Settled inside these words is the reverberation of incalculable moments when we've battled with our viewpoints, burdened by loads the world doesn't know anything about. Now, does this mean we ought to bottle everything up? No, however, it's about knowing who to trust in and when. You see, everybody might hear, yet not all tune in, and fewer still get it. Deciding to uncover these fights is a privilege, and one ought to step cautiously, sharing just with the people who have procured the honor of your trust. Today, there's an ever-present desire to carry on with life out in the open, particularly with the omnipresence of online entertainment stages. It seems like everybody's sharing everything, but there's huge strength in specific sharing. Let some fights remain yours and yours alone. They are a demonstration of your versatility, a personal declaration of honor, and keeping in mind that it's human instinct to look for comfort in others, recall that only 1 out of every odd ear is tuned to the profundity of your tune. Sometimes, the music of your battles is best valued in the quiet asylums of your own heart. After all, as the Stoics accepted, genuine change frequently flourishes in quietude. The murmurs of self-doubt. Stoics never uncover self-doubt. Have you at any point remained at the edge of a decision just to be pulled back by the quieted voices of vulnerability? These delicate murmurs, am I sufficient? What if I fail? Are the surreptitious occupants of the psyche, poking us from our true capacity. While it's enticing to yell out these weaknesses, trusting somebody will invalidate them, an indifferent comprehends the gravity of keeping them shielded, essentially until they're completely recognized and tended to. Why, you inquire? For it's not external occasions that inconvenience you, but your own decisions about them. This understanding, acquired from the old hallways of emotionlessness, recommends that standing up to our inner discourse rather than intensifying them for the world can be an extraordinary experience. The world, particularly in its current structure, frequently has a method of amplifying our uncertainties. You share a self-doubt, and suddenly, there's a downpour of advice, much of it clashing, adding to the bedlam of disarray. Rather, consider taking a different methodology. Draw in with these murmurs in the quiet field of contemplation. Let your comprehension be the balm, not the assessments of innumerable others. Challenge these voices, banter with them, perhaps reason with them. These days, where each feeling can rapidly turn into a public display, there's unequaled power in valuing isolation, particularly while restraining the boisterous voices of self-doubt. They need your unified consideration, not the world's. Isn't it smarter to initially repair the breaks in a boat secretly instead of inviting a crowd to watch it sink? Your future. Stoics don't uncover their likely plans. Have you at any point felt the heaviness of another's look on you, inquisitive about your next move? There's something profoundly enabling about clutching your likely arrangements with a calm poise, rather than allowing them to become supper table chat. Your yearnings, dreams, and desires are yours to esteem. By not uncovering everything about them, keep an element of secret and unconventionality. We live in a time where everybody's so anxious to share, yet there's strength in keeping your cards close, allowing actions to speak stronger than words. History offers incalculable instances of people who rashly bragged about their arrangements, only to watch them disintegrate. Take Napoleon Bonaparte. His military virtuoso was unrivaled, but his pomposity communicated plans and misstatement of his adversaries frequently turned into his Achilles' heel. The Battle of Waterloo serves as an impactful reminder that boasting too much can lead to one's defeat. Similarly, business investors like Howard Hughes were infamous for keeping their ventures hidden from plain view, ensuring competitors were always one step behind. It's an example of the power of unconventionality and the vital benefit of carefulness. Today, we're connected like never before with social stages enticing us to report each aim. However, aloofness advises us that there's value in stepping back and taking a more measured approach. By keeping your likely arrangements secret, you not only secure your desires but also afford yourself the opportunity to adjust and change without outside tension. As Seneca's insight perfectly winds through our viewpoints, if a person doesn't know to which port they sail, no wind is favorable. It's a compelling reminder to lay out a plan but share it only when necessary. Furthermore, for the most part, with oneself, holding your future close doesn't mean you're apprehensive or uncertain. On the contrary, it means a strong comprehension of the world's elements. You're not keeping it for mystery, you're preserving the sanctity of your process, ensuring that when the world observes your moves, they're unfaltering, purposeful, and always one action ahead. The temptation of excessive comfort. Stoics never embrace inordinate comfort. Comfort, it could seem, is strange. However, there's an intrinsic wisdom in keeping our standard attack beyond comfort. A mystery. When you share each challenge, each endeavor outside your norm, the plan frequently moves unexpectedly. You're seeking approval, commendation for being so fearless or striking. Yet, the indifferent approach isn't about external approval, it's about internal development. The next time you choose to awaken an hour sooner to read or decide to walk in the rain to feel invigorated, perhaps keep it to yourself. It's not a show, it's a personal journey. Marcus Aurelius murmured through time, is it for appearances or genuine advancement? Historical records discuss Alexander the Great and his unmatched triumphs, yet even he, amidst the luxuries he could call, would rest on the ground and eat the same rations as his soldiers. He did this not to look good but to remind himself of the realities of life and not get derailed in the murkiness of extravagance and comfort. We may not be leading massive armies, but our struggles are genuinely our challenges, no less significant in our rapidly changing world, where comfort is often a click away. Remember that it's the wind, the rain, and the difficult paths that shape mountains. Similarly, our difficulties, particularly those we quietly embrace, shape us. It's all right to luxuriate in comfort, but take those secret walks into the new. It's there that we find the forms of ourselves we frequently neglect to acknowledge. Your weaknesses and shortcomings. Stoics don't uncover their shortcomings. It's said that every hero has an Achilles heel, a weak point that, despite their strength, can be their undoing. People, in their flawlessly imperfect nature, are composed of both strengths and weaknesses. These weaknesses, the raw, delicate pieces of our minds, merit protection, not exposure. It's not about stowing away or denying them, but about treating them with the care they merit. Man is impacted not by events, but by the view he takes of them, mumbled a voice reminiscent of Epictetus. Proposing it's not our weaknesses that characterize us, but our perspective of them. Embracing weaknesses is significant. They are markers of past injuries, lessons learned, and even the fear of future struggles. They're also profoundly personal. Broadcasting them can make us vulnerable to external judgments, which can sometimes slant our own understanding or acceptance of them. By privately acknowledging these points, we nurture ourselves, ensuring they're not exploited or misunderstood. It allows us a chance to work on them, to transform them from weak spots into areas of growth. Throughout history, many figures were keenly aware of their weaknesses but chose to keep them close, using them as motivations rather than deterrents. Abraham Lincoln, for example, faced numerous failures and struggled with episodes of melancholy. Rather than publicizing these battles, he absorbed them, allowing them to shape his empathy in leadership. On the other hand, Julius Caesar's weakness was his trust in close associates, culminating in his tragic end on the Ides of March. These historical episodes highlight the significance of recognizing our weaknesses, handling them with care, and ensuring they don't become our undoing. Oversharing is the norm these days. The pressure to bare one's soul and put everything out in the open can be overwhelming. Yet, there's power in specific quiet. Recognize your weaknesses, value them, work on them, but don't feel obligated to lay them out for the world to analyze. It's okay to keep a few pages of your book shut. After all, secrets have their own appeal and strength. Sometimes, their power lies in the parts left uninitiated. Your own. Stoics never uncover personal complaints. Complaints, they say, conveying feelings of spite is like drinking poison and expecting the other individual to die. It's a heavy burden on the shoulders, a constant mumble in the ear, and more frequently than not, a pointless endeavor. Yet, deciding to process personal complaints internally as a Stoic advances internal harmony and self-mastery. By choosing not to vent every disturbance, you develop an inner resilience, learning to handle issues internally without dispersing your energy outward. It's a bit reminiscent of Epictetus, who once reflected, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things." Consider this. When you share every disturbance or disappointment, you're not just fostering negativity, but also subtly seeking approval for your feelings. By holding back and introspecting, you give yourself the time to address, is this complaint valid? Can I control it? Should it influence my perspective? Such contemplation often leads to the realization that many of our complaints are transient, shameful of our energy, and for those that are substantial, handling them head-on rather than merely discussing them can be far more fulfilling and effective.